It was a really emotional project for us, and it meant a lot to us. And that's the reason we wanted to share it with you guys, but we really were not sure how it was going to be received.
Imagine finally sharing a piece of your soul with the world, your hands shaking, unsure how it will be received. That's exactly where Victoria and Rico find themselves right now. This wasn't just a content pivot for them, it was an emotional mountain to climb. Picture this. You're anchored in a cove that looks like a postcard, the water like glass, standing on the deck of an incredible Bering yacht. On the surface, it's the dream. But behind the scenes, that dream didn't just hit a few delays, it drifted straight into a federal courtroom. We're talking about a project celebrated globally, only to dissolve into a mess of broken contracts, allegations of undercapitalization, and videos that suddenly vanished. It raises a massive question. What happens to the balance of power when the people involved have a massive loyal audience at their back? Today, we're peeling back the glossy exterior to look at the actual legal battle involving Victoria Chalaya and Rico Rox Stoll, the faces behind NautiStyles. We'll walk through the public court filings and the on-record statements, making sure we keep the facts clear and the allegations identified for exactly what they are. Understand the why. You have to understand the who. Victoria and Rico aren't just influencers who stumbled onto a boat for the aesthetic. They are both licensed USCG captains with over a decade of professional maritime grit under their belts. They've spent years in charter operations, yacht consulting, and deep dive brokerage work. When they launched NautiStyles, it worked because it wasn't fluff. Their walkthroughs were blunt, technical, and practical. People trusted Victoria's nonsense assessments and Rico's deep technical knowledge. That credibility turned their channel into a powerhouse. But once you have that kind of influence, the next step becomes the most dangerous one. The question everyone is asking is, how did two of the most trusted names in the industry end up in a legal war over the very thing they love most? This question began haunting the NautiStyles community when Victoria and Rico launched Naughty Guys, a second channel dedicated to the build of their long-range Steel Explorer yacht. It wasn't just a someday ambition, it was a committed, real-time project. They entered an agreement with Bering Yachts, starting with a Bering 75 that eventually evolved into a more complex 82-foot masterpiece named Adamas. For years, viewers were invited into every shipyard walkthrough in Turkey, every debate over the layout, and every engine room inspection. They called it the biggest financial decision of their lives, and that transparency created a rare level of emotional investment from the audience. But in mid-2025, the silence became deafening. Updates grew infrequent, the language on camera became guarded, and the main channel's focus shifted away from the build entirely. The reason for that shift was finally revealed on July 30th, 2025, when Angels LLC, the corporate entity linked to Victoria and Rico, filed a lawsuit in the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of North Carolina. The complaint names Bering Yachts LLC, Bering Naval, and several individuals as defendants. To be absolutely precise, these are allegations contained in a legal filing, not proven facts, and it's important to remember that a court has not yet ruled on liability. However, the claims are staggering. Angels LLC alleges breach of contract, fraud, and negligence. The crux of the claim is that the Bering defendants were undercapitalized, not just because of the market, but due to an alleged siphoning of funds between various corporate entities. Essentially, the lawsuit claims that money intended for the Adamas was being used to keep other parts of the business afloat. By early 2026, the situation took another dramatic turn. In a bold move, Victoria and Rico reportedly took physical possession of the unfinished hull, moving the massive steel structure to another shipyard to finish it themselves. This federal complaint paints a picture far from a dream-build vlog. It alleges that the undercapitalization wasn't just a business hiccup, it was a direct roadblock that stopped Bering from meeting its core promises, like finishing and delivering the yacht. According to the filings, this failure didn't just cause delays, it caused real monetary harm to Victoria and Rico's company, Angels LLC. While these are contested allegations, not proven facts, they add a heavy layer of seriousness to the whole drama. The way the plaintiff argues their case is actually pretty fascinating. They don't just say they didn't build our boat. They go into incredible, almost obsessive detail to show that the contract was ironclad and specific. We're talking about a one-of-a-kind, semi-custom 77-foot Explorer yacht, later bumped to 82 feet, that was meant to be their home and a charter business. The filings list out high-end systems that sound like a tech lover's wish list: high-capacity silent mode technology, solar integration, black and gray water treatment plants, and a top-tier Furuno navigation suite. They even specified things like custom VEM super yacht propellers and a professionally outfitted galley designed for charter chefs. The argument here is simple. The contract was so detailed, it's easy to see exactly where the performance fell short. And here's the kicker: the money. According to the lawsuit, Victoria and Rico had already paid about 83% of the total purchase price. But when you look at the boat itself, the complaint alleges it's only 70% complete at best. They're essentially saying, we've held up our end of the bargain, we're ready to pay the rest, but the work just isn't happening to the quality or timeline we agreed on.
So where did the case stand? As of late 2025, Victoria and Rico's company, Angels LLC, was deep in the weeds of international law. They were trying to serve several of the Turkey-based defendants through the Hague Convention, the gold standard for serving legal papers across borders. But the Turkish Ministry of Justice eventually confirmed it didn't go through, which led to a 90-day extension, a standard hurry-up-and-wait moment in federal litigation. At the same time, they were pushing for a default judgment against the U.S.-based Bering entities, claiming they hadn't responded in time. The defense shot back, basically saying, hey, we were talking settlement. We thought the deadlines were on hold, so we didn't blow up the negotiations. It was a classic high-stakes legal standoff where procedural leverage was being traded back and forth like currency. But then, everything changed. Court records show the lawsuit was formally terminated on December 29, 2025, following a voluntary dismissal by Angels LLC. This aligns perfectly with industry reports of a sealed settlement reached in January 2026. While the details are locked away in a strictly confidential vault, the evidence is all over their digital footprint. Bering has been completely scrubbed from the NautiStyles world. That update video where they reportedly talked about terminating the contract and seizing the hull was likely the nuclear option. Using their massive platform to go public was a huge reputational risk, but it also gave them immense leverage. In the yacht world, reputation is everything, and having two of the industry's biggest ambassadors file fraud charges is a brand's worst nightmare. The fact that the video vanished almost immediately suggests it did exactly what it was supposed to do. It brought everyone to the table to end the war.
So what's the aftermath? If you look at their most recent videos, they're back to the hustle. They aren't on a brand new Bering 82. They're still living aboard their 2004 Meridian. It's a bit of a bittersweet ending. They fought for the dream, they stood their ground in a federal courtroom, and they proved they are savvy business operators. But the Adamas, as we knew it, might never sail under their flag. It's a masterclass in the business of trust. They proved that while a dream boat can be tied up in court, a brand built on authenticity and technical expertise can weather even the roughest legal seas. This saga wasn't just about a boat. It was a high-stakes chess match between two people who know exactly what their reputation is worth and a global manufacturer that underestimated the power of a loyal audience. It's incredibly rare for creators with this kind of visibility to let a situation escalate this far without some kind of tell-all expose. So why the silence? The most likely answer is the one lawyers love and viewers hate: legal restraint. Between active litigation, potential non-disclosure agreements, and the strict advice of counsel, Victoria and Rico are likely boxed in. In a high-stakes federal battle, silence isn't inaction, it's a strategy. It means the fight has moved from the comments section into the courtroom, where words are measured in evidence rather than engagement. While the Adamas might not be their home right now, they've kept their integrity, their channel, and most importantly, the trust of the people who watch them every week. They prove that in the modern world, having a camera and a community is just as powerful as having a fleet of ships. They're back on their meridian, back to the grit that started it all, and honestly, they seem more unshakable than ever. It's a wild reminder that even when the dream yacht is sitting in a shipyard legal limbo, the real NautiStyles isn't the boat you're on, it's how you navigate the storm. If this episode resonated with you, consider sharing it with someone who might appreciate its story.